feel like Washington was a good fit for you, and can you kind of just walk us through the process of how you got here?
Yeah, I don't want to get into the specifics of the process as much, but obviously historic franchise, incredible fan base, the opportunity to work with Adam Peters, Dan Quinn, who I've always had a ton of respect with, and then the ownership group, what they're trying to do, their vision. It's exciting times. I've heard great things about the DMV, so just honored to be here.
Are you able to provide any sort of clarity on sort of what happened with the Raiders and, how it led to here?
Yeah, I don't want to get into the specifics, but have a tremendous amount of respect for that organization and Mark Davis and AP. Huge fan of his.
How was Magic Johnson involved?
Once again, don't want to get into any of those specifics.
You were a head coach for a decade until last year. What did last year allow you to do, and does that set you up to be a better OC here?
Yeah, I hope so. Coach Riley is a phenomenal coach. To be able to be around him, watch him from that view, his processes, how he works with the team, was awesome. A great learning experience. And then just to be around the younger players again really re-energized me, re-motivated me. I kind of got to be the good cop the entire year in that space, and felt like it gave me a chance to kind of reevaluate some of my processes and how I operate, and felt like it made me a better coach.
Kliff, back in the NFL, JP Finley, NBC4, 1067. Back in the NFL now, but going to be a coordinator instead of a head coach. What are some of the differences that will be in those two different roles, and are you looking forward to some of those differences?
Being able to just focus on the offense will be great. Dan has a bunch on his plate. I've sat in that seat, and so you're dealing with the entire picture. With me now, it's focusing on that group and trying to maximize who we are personnel-wise, coaching staff-wise, and being the best we can just in that area. So to be able to back up and do that again is exciting, to put all that focus just into that and ready to get to work.
And so much of your life has been playing and then coaching the quarterback position. What is, if there's a roadmap for developing a young quarterback, what does that look like?
First off, you got to have talented players to work with. There's no doubt. I've been very fortunate to be around some really good players, good people, but I just try to figure out what makes them tick. Everybody's different. Everybody learns differently. Everybody processes differently, likes different plays, sees the game differently. So I really try to get to the bottom of who they are as a person, who they are as a player, and build it around them.
Kliff, John Keim, ESPN. Everybody talks about the air raid offense. How has that evolved for you from the time you're in college to Arizona to now?
Yeah, at Texas Tech, University of Houston, we had Case Keenum and Patrick Mahomes, so we were throwing it a ton, and it was spread offense just like a lot of those are. You get to the NFL, you learn the nature of that game and the different personnel groups and the matchups and things like that, and I'm not sure where we were on pass percentage my last 3 years there, but I know it wasn't at the top. So we want to be balanced. We want to be able to run the football and play action pass and really do whatever it takes to win. But the air raid deal is I'm honored to be a part of that because it was Mike Leach, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for him, but I wouldn't categorize anything we do under that name.
And what did you learn from maybe the head coach time, even calling plays, whatever, that you can apply to now?
Every year you learn something different. Just consistency and approach. I think that's the main thing in this league. You're going to have your ups and downs. It's a lot of parity. It's tough games week in, week out, and you got to be consistent in your standards and your approach.
Hey, Kliff, Ben Standig with The Athletic. Welcome to town. How much say did you have in the other hires on offense, and what's the challenge of putting together all these people coming together mostly for the first time? Yeah,
it's always a challenge, but it's exciting. It was a collaborative effort with Dan, obviously, and Adam. We wanted to bring a bunch of high character people and good football coaches, and we have some former head coaches and former offensive coordinators, and so I'm excited to put the offense together. I think anytime you get a chance to reinstall your offense, you can be more efficient with your processes and your verbiage and your play calls and your scheme. And so we're going to all dive into it and figure out kind of what we do best personnel-wise and grow it from there.
And last year, obviously, you were at USC. What did you kind of get out of that experience being at the college level? And then, obviously, you're working with Caleb Williams while there. How did working with him kind of help you, or what did that do for you as you're getting ready to do this job?
Yeah, he's a great kid. There's no doubt. And like I mentioned earlier, just getting to watch Lincoln from afar and observe him and how he coaches and how he schemes things up and his processes was huge. And then just being around the younger players and really diving back into the everyday teaching. Sometimes when you're a head coach, you step back from the one-on-ones a little bit, and this allowed me to get back into that vein.
Scott Abraham, ABC 7. Kliff, welcome to Washington. I guess when you look at today's NFL, what type of quarterback, like the ideal fit, the characteristics, the traits that you want to work with here in Washington?
The Chiefs quarterback?
That'd help.
No. I do think the game, as you can see, you watch those guys, Brock and him at the end, like when the money's on the table, you got to be able to make some plays with your feet, move around enough to escape a bad play. And it doesn't mean you got to run like Lamar or Kyler Murray, but you better be able to move a little bit and buy yourself some time, because the D-line, the rushes, the defense these days are so good. And then the intangibles, you want that player to be the hardest worker on your team. You want him to lead those guys each and every day when he shows up in the building. You want him to lift the building up, and that's why those guys make the type of money they do.
With how things ended for you in Arizona, now coming here to Washington, do you feel like you have something to prove to yourself and maybe the rest of the NFL?
I don't. That's not how I approach it. I do this because I enjoy the game. I enjoy the players and the mentorship, and the Sunday is that type of competitive situation. So I've never got into it to prove anybody wrong or right or anything like that.
Chad Ricotta with Fox 5. Coach, we heard from Dan Quinn when he first came in. He wanted to talk about all of the things that he learned from his job in Atlanta. I wonder what it is that you've learned that you're bringing here from your previous head coaching experience and what you've taken away from USC.
Yeah, I think, like I mentioned earlier, first and foremost, consistency and approach, and then the standard's got to be the standard no matter what, no matter who you bring in, what it looks like, how the season's going. You can't let that dictate, how you approach the team and how you coach. And then the USC deal, more than anything, just re-energized me being around those young players and those kids that were excited to play the game, even though they're getting paid now, which is a little bit different. They just have a real thirst for knowledge and want to learn.
Having spent time around Caleb Williams as you did this previous year, what in his game do you feel as though can translate to the NFL at a high level?
Yeah, I don't want to break him down right now. I'm still trying to, evaluate our own roster and go through that. But like I mentioned, loved being around him, tremendous person, and, I had fun at USC.
Hey, Kliff, welcome to town. Alex Film with DC News Now. Obviously, when you choose to come in as a coordinator, it's important who the head coach is. With it being Dan Quinn here, what was it about Dan that made you really want to come here and be a part of the staff?
Tremendous person, first and foremost. The football speaks for itself. I first met him in 2012. Kind of brief interaction. We were at Texas A&M. We played Florida, and they beat us, and I was really impressed by his scheme and how those guys played, and they flew around. And then watching him go to Seattle and the success he had in Atlanta, just the way he does things and treats people and helps mentor coaches and players. He's a guy I always looked at and said, if there's an opportunity, I'd love to work with him in some capacity. So for this to work out has really been big for me.
And then just kind of expanding on that, the vision that this Harris ownership group has, obviously they want to turn this place into a good culture, a winner. How much did that play in the role, and how maybe excited are you for what could happen here in your time here?
That's huge. That's you want to be a place that's passionate about winning and doing all the things necessary to do that. And you can tell this is the time to get it done here, and we're going to do everything we can to try and make that happen. And there's no better leader than Dan Quinn and Adam Peters to get this thing started.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Liam Griffin with the Washington Times. You said you're starting to break down this roster and going through film. What players or position groups have kind of stood out to you as you started to get familiar with the roster?
Yeah, I haven't got, I would say, far enough into it, but obviously there's some explosive pieces on offense that you notice. But I'm about 3 games in, so we have a ways to go. But, I'm excited. I think there's some pieces there.
Coach Candy Waller, Bowie Television. What do you think what are some of the key attributes an offense needs to have in order to be successful in this league?
Yeah, first and foremost, being able to adapt to your personnel, do what you do best, and don't ask them to do things they can't do. And we have a staff that is all in agreement on that and takes pride in that. So we're going to build this thing together and be collaborative as we put it together, and just make sure we're putting our guys in the best situation possible. You got to be able to, run the football in 4 minutes, and you got to be able to throw it in 2 minutes. And you saw that game come down to it a couple times the other night. That's how these games come down to, and so more than anything, just making sure we're putting those players in a position to be successful.
Hey, Coach, Donna Hopkins, Pro Football Plus. This league waits for nobody. When you look at your qualities and your strengths and everything, and to jumpstart this offense right quick, what do you think those things are?
Probably number one, I don't know what I don't know. I'm not afraid to ask questions and learn from these other guys, and if there's a better way to do it, we're going to do it that way. I'm big on evolving each and every year, doing breakdowns of the top college offenses, pro offense. What are they doing? How can we make that fit? And I think that's what it's about. The defense is always trying to catch up, and it's a cyclical game. And if you kind of are staying stagnant and not progressing and not evolving in your drill work and your scheme and your coaching practice, then they're going to catch up to you.
Welcome to town, Coach Desmond Purnell, WUSA 9. Heading into the Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback in the league right now. He complimented you, said he would not be where he is today if it were not for you. Hearing that, how does that make you feel, and what did you see in Patrick Mahomes coming out of high school that a lot of other coaches did not?
Yeah, every time I would watch him, he was the best player on the field by far, and he put the team on his back, and he did whatever it took to win. You can see the competitive nature. Just like the other night, I don't think anybody here thought he was going to lose when he got that ball back, and it was the same deal in high school. It's like you knew he was going to find a way to win, and it didn't look traditional, and he'd shuffle back and kind of just move around and make plays, but he was the best player, and I kind of stayed out of his way a little bit in college. I didn't want to take that away from him ever, because that's what he did great. We tried to polish some things, but to watch what he's become and just the person he is, I tell everybody that's his greatest superpower, is the person, even with all the freaky talent. He's such a great person. The way he treats people, the way he handles his teammates, it's just phenomenal.
And secondly, Coach, as far as the players who are still on this roster, what's your message to them? What message do you want them to get across offensively to the players who are still on the roster?
Yeah, at this point, like I said, I'm still evaluating everything, but just that we have a staff that's going to do everything we can to make sure we maximize them as a player and put them in a position to be successful.
Hey, Coach, David Harrison, Sports Illustrated. Welcome to D.C. Run game coordinator can mean a little bit of a different thing to a lot of different people. Can you share anything about Anthony Lynn's role within the staff?
Excited about Anthony. He's been a head coach, another Texas Tech Red Raider, which you can't have enough of those rocket scientists on the staff. So we're going to see where it fits in. He's had a tremendous track record with running backs and run schemes and things like that, and so that'll be a big part of his role. But once again, it's be collaborative. We're still figuring out how it all fits in that way. But to have a guy like that, a football mind like that, a leader like that is huge for us.
And then Wisconsin offensive coordinator Phil Longo called you one of those profound offensive minds in the game, and you had a big impact on his own mindset. Who's someone like that in your career that you look at it in that way?
Yeah, Kevin Sumlin is a guy who gave me an opportunity to coach and kind of do it my way and just let me have the reins from an early age. So he's a guy that I have a tremendous amount of respect for, and taught me a lot about leadership and scheme and how to be a coach.
Hey, Kliff, Chris Bumbaka with USA Today. What qualities does David Blau have that will make him a good coach from the beginning?
Yeah, very, very smart. I remember we got him in Arizona for a couple weeks, and he probably knew the offense better than I did after 2 weeks. He's one of the brightest quarterbacks I've ever been around. Great rapport with the players, and I love his temperament. I think whoever the quarterback is, he'll be great to be around him, and just how he sees the game, how he talks protections, how he talks progressions, because he never gets too high or too low. And I think he's got a chance to move up really quickly in this profession.
Hey, Kliff. Mitch Tischler, Monday Model Sports. A lot of talk about collaboration between yourself and Dan. How do you kind of foresee that communication going, and how involved do you expect Dan Quinn to be in how the offense is run?
Yeah, as much as he wants to be. He's the head coach, and so however he wants to do it, we're going to do it that way. I understand that. He understands that. And so as much input as we can get for him, the better. I mean, he's a guy who can tell us, hey, this is what the defense is trying to do, see it from a different point of view than us. And so I'm excited to work with him from that angle and, see where we're going to take this.
And then one more with Bobby Johnson as the offensive line coach. Kind of what do you know about him, and kind of what intrigued you about him and made you want to bring him in? Yeah,
he's been at a lot, great places. Worked with some great offenses. Worked with some great offenses there in Buffalo with Josh Allen, and some of the creativity and the run game stuff they were doing, and tempo and some different things that I really liked. And then go to the Giants' very first year they made the playoffs with Daniel Jones, and so I from afar I liked how he handled himself, some of the stuff he did in the run game, and then had got rave reviews from people I really trust in the profession, and so did Dan. So it worked out. Appreciate it, Coach. Thank you. Thank y'all.